Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for this welcome workshop on navigating the myTC portal. I'm Whitney Hedgepeth, and I'm an Assistant Director in the Office of Graduate Student Life and Development, and I am happy to share with you today some tools for success that I believe will help you to navigate your student portal in a digital world. In today's presentation, we're going to cover navigating your myTC portal, a kind of one-stop shop for all things student-related at TC, printing at TC for when we're back on campus, or if you're currently residing on campus as a residential student with us, financing your education and where you can find TC Student Affairs grants, awards, and fellowship information, and events and student involvement at TC and the different platforms currently in existence, but three main places for student events, including student organization events. So, navigating the myTC portal. If you haven't already, I'd recommend that you bookmark the link http://my.tc.edu. All of our platforms run on a Google platform, so Chrome is the preferred or best browser, but everything remains fully functional and operational if you're using another browser such as Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari, or others. And if you have your student email tied to your mobile phone or have another personal Gmail account open frequently, you may experience some permissions messages, as many of our forms, sheets, and docs are restricted to tc.columbia.edu users only for security purposes. You shouldn't need permission to access, so if you encounter these messages, we suggest that you try clearing your cache or your browsing history, or even logging in with an incognito or a blind browsing window, and that should resolve all of your problems. And lastly, as a registered student, you should always be using your university email for correspondence at this point. When logged into your myTC portal, you'll see an icon menu at the top right with a support icon for TCIT, which I can point out to you on the next slide. But the icon that you see there, the circular red image, is what you're looking for. And TCIT, I can attest, is a phenomenal team in place that will work with you and support you through any technological difficulties that you may be having. When you click the support icon, and you can report an incident, which will be triaged and assigned to a technician who can best assist you with campus resources as well as academic technology. In navigating the portal, we will discuss the message center, upcoming events, the academic calendar, a people directory, and user roles. But as promised, I'm going to point out to you that support icon that's located right up here on the top left of your toolbar. With recent changes and upgrades to the portal, your images may look slightly different than the ones displayed in this presentation. However, the layout and the content remains unchanged. So let's start with the main landing page, or the Welcome tab. In the center column, you have the myTC Message Center, a centralized communication board with special or pertinent announcements relating to campus changes, including severe weather closures or building maintenance, as well as department-related offerings from TC Student Affairs. On the left column, you will note upcoming events at TC. This is a campus-wide events column and is displayed based on the target audience for the event as well as your user role, which we will talk about momentarily. In the right column, you will find a campus-wide directory with many different search fields beyond name, such as department and email. If you're trying to find a specific individual but may not have caught their name, you will also find a link and a build out of the current 2020 academic calendar, which will soon be updating to the 2020-2021 academic year on September 1. And as promised, we're lastly going to talk about user roles. So at the top navigation menu in the center of the screen, you will notice that you have the welcome screen, and you likely have two other options on your toolbar, unless you are currently employed at the college. You likely have student resources and support resources tabs. The student resources tabs will likely be your most traveled destination within the myTC portal. It's also worth noting that once you graduate and become alumni, you will never lose access. Your uni and your email are assigned for life, and you should have access to the portal, but will no longer be able to view current student resources, such as the library and printing, for example. And breaking it down further and going back to campus announcements, usually generated by TC Public Safety, you can also receive pertinent information and alerts through the myTC alert, a text messaging service which you can voluntarily enroll into under your Student Resources tab. Managed messages, where you can find important announcements or updates from campus partners and the Division of Student Affairs, including our office, Grad Student Life and Development, and career resources from our colleagues in TC Next, as well as offerings from the Vice President for Diversity and Community Affairs. As students, you should have the ability to post to the bulletin board, an electronic resource or catch-all for all types of things, including course offerings, employment notices, events and activities, which many of our student organizations utilize to advertise for their upcoming get-togethers or events, housing and sublet options, traditionally off-campus, lectures and talks that are open to the public, non-TC jobs and services, which is great if you're in need of childcare or seeking assistance with tutoring, as well as research participants and volunteers. This can come in really handy if you're working on a research study independently with a faculty member or even outside of TC and are seeking participants or volunteers for your study. The electronic people directory is a great feature, especially as a new student where you may be meeting loads of people and can remember a first name and or an academic department, but you can't quite remember everything. Good news, you can search by those fields and the directory will find all related individuals. This is also a really helpful function if you're in need of determining a uni to send an email or looking to contact a faculty member or an adjunct instructor outside of your academic department or discipline. You can also use this function to find an administrator or a staff member. And before we jump head on into the Student Resources tab, let's quickly highlight the Employee Resources tab, as I understand many of you wish to obtain federal work-study jobs or fulfill other student roles at the college. When you are hired and onboarded, you will have access to the Employee Resources tab, where you can also sign up for direct deposit, similarly to e-refund, which we will talk about momentarily. We highly encourage students to sign up for direct deposit in the event there is a college closure due to something like severe weather or otherwise prohibiting them from collecting their paper paycheck from campus. So moving right along, we're going to talk and dive head on into the Student Resources tab. Let's revisit the option to enroll in our TC Alert program. You can sign up by clicking the link. It's the top hyperlink under Personal Information. And by enrolling in the TC Alert, you will get real-time alerts, as mentioned, for severe weather, college closure, and hopefully we never have to, but in the event there is an active shooter or another emergency situation on campus, you will be updated in real time. Beneath your myTC Alert, you can find your TCID number. This is important. You should know where to find it. It's different than your uni and kind of like a social security number of sorts for TC. If you do not communicate through your university email, you may be asked to provide your TCID number for identification verification purposes. So getting to know where it's located and how to find it is critical. Most importantly, please ensure that your emergency contact listed is up to date and is someone and a telephone number other than yourself. This information is very important, even now when many of us are not on campus, and we would greatly appreciate it if you took the time to ensure it's accurate so that we can help you if and when you may be in need. Lastly, as you may be considering relocating to New York City when things settle down, you should continue to update your current mailing address and preferred telephone number on file throughout your studies, as important documentation may be sent to the address as listed. Documentation includes statements or explanations of benefits from Aetna Student Health if you're enrolled in the Columbia plan, or stipends and refunds in the event that you are not enrolled in e-refund with the college. So speaking of e-refund, let's move to the top left of your Student Resources tab to the My Account section. This is where you will find information pertaining to your student account, including outstanding balances and itemized breakdowns of your account statement. A friendly reminder, it is your responsibility as a student to review your account statement for accuracy. Should there be any discrepancies in your statement, we urge you to contact the Office of the Bursar or Student Accounts at your earliest convenience. I believe this year the first account statement will be visible to students on September 1, so in the very near future, and the payment deadline for fall 2020 is September 18th. If there are no problems with your account statement, you can arrange to make payment through the site if you will be paying independently for your tuition or fees, or you can sign up for payment plans with the bursar. There is a one-time application fee to set up the installment payments, but once approved, you can make payments on a schedule at 3 time points throughout the course of the term. And I know many students want to know how they can apply their loans to their account statement. You will hear a presentation later today from our colleagues both in the Office of the Bursar and Financial Aid, but so long as you have accepted your aid through financial aid, your loans should automatically disperse to your student account following the end of the drop add period. Should you have loaned more to assist with the cost of technology, books, living expenses, or otherwise, you should receive the remaining balance in the form of a refund, which is a perfect segue to encourage you to enroll in e-refund, which is a direct deposit of sorts, should the college need to refund you for any money or overpayment. This is also the preferred method for delivery of financial stipends for student grants and awards, which we will briefly touch upon, and there will also be a separate presentation available to you. Next, let's talk about registration tools. This will come in handy as you may still need to register or enroll in courses or potentially change your course enrollment. Following this session, our registrar, Megan Massaro, can tell you more about course enrollment and registration. But through your portal, you can drop or add classes through the end of the drop add date, which for the fall term is September 15th. You can preview available courses and schedules, search for courses through the CRN or course registration number, a sidebar, and a helpful hint. If a course seems appealing or interesting, I highly recommend that you write down that CRN. It will make your life easier in the end. And lastly, through this section of the myTC portal, you can view your own course schedule. And I'd just like to highlight a few tips that I recommend for you. TC operates on a point system over credits, so technically 3 points is equal or equivalent to 3 credits. Which this language can get a little confusing to students who are accustomed to other terminology. And registration status determines your full or your part-time student status at TC. So specific to TC, full-time student status is considered enrollment or 12 or more billable credits. And this is exceptionally important for doctoral students, especially as they get closer to completing their coursework and focus on their dissertation. While you may be deemed as having full-time enrollment by enrolling in the 3-credit 8900 level doctoral dissertation advisement course, you're not technically considered full-time by billable credit status, which can affect things like enrollment and continuing coverage in student health insurance. So if you have course enrollment specific questions, we highly encourage you to reach out. Next, let's talk about academic technology. Canvas is our online learning platform, similar to a platform like Blackboard or Moodle. If you weren't able to attend the Intro to Canvas session offered by our colleagues in academic technology, we highly encourage you to watch the recorded content available to you on the orientation portal. And as a TC student, you have access to software licenses, including Microsoft Office 365 and SPSS. Zoom is the video conferencing platform accessible to all students for course instruction as well as orientation-related sessions. If you're not familiar with Zoom and were unaware of this session, we encourage you to watch the recorded content on the session Intro to Zoom for Students, again, hosted by our colleagues in academic technology. Again, that content is available to you on the orientation portal. Additionally, you have access to reference management software through EndNote and Columbia University. Moreover, our colleagues in the Graduate Writing Center will be hosting sessions on Mendeley and Zotero in the coming weeks as well, which I would highly recommend that you all attend, as using reference management software is especially helpful as you begin to write more and advance deeper into your studies. And lastly, let's talk about printing. At TC, you have 2 options for printing. So when we're back on campus, you'll be aware that there are separate systems one of which is Columbia University based and the other is TC specific. So let's start with Goprint, which you will find in your academic technology resources block. Goprint is available to students who may be interested in printing either in the TC campus computer labs or lounge spaces. With Goprint, you have a weekly allowance, and again, please don't quote these numbers as accurate as they may have recently changed, but traditionally you were permitted 20 pages per week for the term with Goprint. If you're a paper person and you need to increase your printing allowance, you can also purchase additional printing dollars for TC printing. As a student, I purchased additional packages in the beginning of my studies as I spent a lot of time in the Horseman computer lab, as to me, it tended to be less populated and more quiet than some spaces in the library. Your second printing system is called Pawprint, and this can be used in our Gottesman library as well as any Columbia library. Regardless of where you're printing, your allowance remains the same at 20 pages per week. So if you're strategically planning your assignments and printing, you can realistically print 40 pages per week, which for many students is more than enough. I don't know, again, if the timeline remains the same, but when I was a student, the weekly refresh happened on Saturdays, which was perfect because between Saturday and Sunday, I could print all of my course materials for the week ahead. And alike Goprint, you can also increase your printing dollars with Pawprint. A helpful hint with using Pawprint, especially in our library, when we're on campus and in the height of midterms and finals, I advise you don't wait to print your papers until the hour before because the lines can be incredibly long as there's currently only 2 Pawprint stations in the library located on the first floor. And to utilize Pawprint, you log in just as you do your myTC portal with your uni and same associated password. And with that, we recognize that printing may be confusing, so we've compiled a quick slide with some helpful links built in and how-tos, again, hyperlinked for your convenience, and we can share this presentation so that you can just click and go, but feel free to take a screenshot as well. And the last and one of the most important sections I want to highlight on the Student Resources tab in the myTC portal is our TC Student Affairs, or TCSA, Student Resources section. This contains detailed information on student life-sponsored grants and awards, as well as food insecurity resources and our Student Emergency Fund. So with that, let's go slightly out of chronological order here and start with food insecurity resources. Food insecurity has become a primary concern of ours at the college and university-wide, and with that, we have provided numerous resources for students to utilize and consult in the event that they are experiencing food insecurity now or in the future. Please know that the Food Pantry at Columbia is a resource that is open to you as a TC student, and they have 3 locations currently, 2 of which are located on the Morningside or Columbia University campus, and the other uptown at the medical campus. They have an assortment of boxed and shelf-stable items as well as vouchers for fresh produce. Before utilizing their resources, especially now, we would encourage that you check their website to ensure that they are fully functioning as the pandemic continues. And my final point to note under the TC Student Resource block is the Student Emergency Fund. And this is a direct link to apply for emergency funding up to $250. This is a one-time stipend for the life of your studies at TC provided to any registered student in need. While many might right now may be experiencing COVID-related needs, this can also be utilized for something unexpected, like water damage in your apartment, or if you have to have a locksmith change your locks immediately for an unanticipated reason, or you lost your keys. So now let's go slightly backwards and discuss student grants and awards. You can find more information about the grants and awards that our office, Graduate Student Life and Development, sponsors by clicking the hyperlink in your portal or by visiting our website. With the exception of one award, which is more along the lines of a friendly competition known as the DI-5, all of our awards and grants include a financial stipend. On our website, which may look different in the coming months, you can find the same information transposed from the myTC portal by visiting our website, www.tcsu.edu tc.columbia.edu/OSA, you will find on the left-hand navigation panel a section for grants, awards, and fellowships. Click that link and you will find that both our website and the portal contain links to submit applications or proposals for all sponsored grants, awards, and fellowships. The Dean's Grant will open for applications with the start of the fall 2020 term on September 2nd and will close for proposals on November 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And since we're now talking about our website, let's transition to talking about events. You can find student and community-wide event listings on our website, pictured on the left, and the myTC portal, pictured on the right. You can also find virtual events listed on our orientation virtual events site, which might look familiar to you if you participated in any of our new student meetups, and our community-wide events on the TC Coming Together site. We will share the link to that site in the chat box so you can review it in the event you haven't had the opportunity. And for those who may not have seen it yet, this is the TC Coming Together site. It houses virtual events that are open to the entire community. A full event listing can be found by clicking here. Or you can check out any of the past events in our past events archive, complete with different fitness offerings, including yoga and Zumba, as well as telltale reading sessions for children, our TC community cook-off, and much, much more. And as mentioned, our virtual events housed through the Office of Graduate Student Life and Development, particularly those tied to orientation, are located here. This tile menu that you see will be expanding in the very near future, so we can't wait to share that with you. You can find more information regarding our student organization events as they separate their calendar listings, as well as a directory of currently recognized student organizations on our campus by navigating to the Student Organizations tab at the top navigation bar of our Graduate Student Life website. It's worth mentioning that all of the events listed on the Student Organizations page will also pull to the greater myTC listings. And with that, I'm going to close. I thank you for your attention today, and I welcome any questions. Should you not be able to join us as we continue with the live Q&A, please feel free to submit any questions you may have to studentaffairs@tc.edu. And when we're back on campus, I hope to see you all in Thorndike Hall 155 just as soon as possible. So thank you again, and I look forward to working with you. Welcome to TC.